Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 162 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Joanne Perica. She's a singer, dancer, actress, and I think she's the 9th Cobra Kai actor or actress we've had on the podcast. So that's we're getting close to having 10 on the podcast, but we're happy to have Joanne here. How's it going tonight?
Thank you for having me, Alex. It's going great. No complaints.
Yeah,
Very
that's
happy
good.
to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. I mean, not just for the Cobra Kai stuff, but there's plenty of other things we can talk about music, and I'm a big music guy.
Great.
Fun to talk about, right? Like I could just talk about music for hours with anybody, so that's enjoyable.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about Cobra Kai first, and then we can dive into music and some of your
Sure.
experiences.
Sure.
So you were a Sekai Tai Kai official for those who don't know, and let's start with how did you get your role on the show?
Well, I have an agent in Atlanta called Formation. Previously, they were called People Store. And I got a submission to audition for Cobra Kai. And I auditioned, and that was that. I got the part.
Pretty smooth, pretty
Yeah.
straightforward.
They wanted sort of an international vibe, and they said, use an accent, any accent. And I was thinking, wow, that's kind of cool to be able to pick your own accent. So I sort of chose an Eastern European accent, kind of a combination of a few different countries, because I didn't want it to be like really specific to one country. I wanted people to guess.
Yeah, that's cool. That is cool that they let you pick and they didn't say we want you to sound like somebody with a Russian accent and blah blah blah. Like you kind of gave you some
Exactly.
creative freedom.
Yes, because normally you get very specific directions. We want British, we want Russian, we want Spanish or whatever. But I got to pick, and I guess I picked well because they
Right.
seem to like it.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. I mean, as an actor, an actress, musician, right? I mean, the whole idea is that you're into creativity. You like being artistic and creative. So when you get that liberty to do that, which, like you said, you don't always get. I mean, that's kind of an added bonus.
It's wonderful. Absolutely.
So, were you familiar with the show? I mean, did you watch it? Did you watch the movies?
I
And
had seen a couple, yes, way back when I saw the Karate Kid films, of course. But I was a little late to coming to watch Cobra Kai on Netflix. I had heard about it being on YouTube. I knew it was on Netflix, so I had seen a couple of episodes, but obviously when I got the part, it was a lot of binge watching.
yeah, yeah, it's something that always interests me when people get on a TV show or maybe they're in the third movie of a series. Were they fans of it? Did they follow it before? Was it something they had ever heard of? You hear stories of actors, they get on a show and they'd never heard of it till their agent sent them.
That's right. That's very
Yeah.
common. And I was absolutely thrilled to have most of the cast members there in my scenes, except for Ralph Macchio, of course. I was really hoping to get to meet him, but they were all amazing, just really kind and open, just wonderful. But the funny thing is, I kept talking in this accent during the scenes, and then I was standing next to William Zabka's real life trainer. Um, and at one point, when we finished one of the scenes, I revert to the way I normally talk, and even all the extras behind me, there were a lot. It was a big scene, a lot of people, like maybe 100 or so extras in this big space. And all of a sudden, somebody said, "You mean you don't talk like that? Really?" And I thought, well, I guess I must have done it. Okay. If they really thought that was my natural way of speaking, they were like shocked to hear me just talk like this.
That's funny. That's funny. And it's nice that they were all good to you, right? Because that's tough. You're there for a smaller role. They've all been working together for years. They have this cohesive unit, and you're kind of just coming in, right? They don't have to treat you
Absolutely.
well.
They don't. And I was just absolutely thrilled with how wonderful everybody was. Very, very gracious and open. And then, it makes you feel more relaxed, coming into a situation like that. You're not like, oh, feeling really, really intimidated. No, it was a wonderful experience. Everyone from the crew to the directors to the actors, a really fantastic cast. And it made me sad that this is the last season.
Yeah. And
But
it's kind of like being a new kid at school, right? If everyone's
yeah,
looking at you and whispering, you feel all nervous and anxious. But if somebody comes up, introduces themselves, and they're nice to you, like you said, you've calmed down, you feel relaxed. And then if you're working, obviously that helps you do a better job, and feel like you're meant to be there in that place. It also makes it more enjoyable to watch when you hear that the cast are good people. It's sometimes if I hear about an actor being a jerk, it's like, well, I have a hard time supporting that person then when I know that they're it's fake, or they're really not kind to other people.
yes, you're so right. And actually, one of the things you wanted to touch on was what advice would you give young actors? And, to your point, I think no matter what, stay humble, stay kind, and you will reap the rewards. Far too often, you do hear stories of people becoming super famous and just being a nightmare to work with on set. Whether you're starting out or whether you're a huge celebrity, I think keeping that sense of groundedness and kindness and authenticity and just, be real and be kind to others because, it's going to make their experience and your experience so much better.
Right. And you want to be, I feel like in life and everything you do, if people talk about you, you want them to say nice things about you. You want them to say, you're going to love working with that person. They're so awesome. You don't want people to say, oh, you have to work with that guy. I'm sorry in advance.
True. That's true. And I think, longevity in this business also, it's important to be the kind of person where people are going to want to hire you over and
Yeah.
over because you show up on time, you're professional, but you're easy to get along with. You don't have attitudes or diva attitudes or anything like that. And I have even seen that on sets with some background actors, just putting on this wow, holier than thou. There was one experience I had. Oh, I can't remember the show. I think it may have been Blue Bloods, which I did many years on that as a featured background performer. I've paid my dues, but there was one, yeah, I played a detective on that. There was one time where a background performer actually had the gall to tell the director what to do and how he didn't think his shot was going to work out. And I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, oh my gosh, what gall? I mean, I don't know. I don't think this guy has a career in this business if he's going to have that kind of attitude. That was just beyond anything I'd ever seen or heard.
Yeah, a little big for your britches there, buddy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Blue Bloods, before we circle back to Cobra Kai, I mean, like, so did you get to meet Tom Selleck and work with,
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. But the funny story is that years ago, so I grew up in Toronto, and years ago, they were having auditions for the movie Three Men and a Baby. I don't know if you ever saw that one. It was with Tom
I didn't
Selleck.
see it, but
Ted
I know
Danson.
what, I know of it.
Yes, yes. And I kept getting callbacks. It was for a main part. And a lot of people don't realize that Leonard Nimoy was the actual director of that film. So I'm in a room and I'm young and it's like one of my first real auditions. And I had to do this martial arts move of all things. And so Leonard Nimoy was there and he's kind of directing me to this, and Tom Selleck's sitting there and Ted Danson's sitting there. And I do my move. and I knocked the glasses off of Leonard Nimoy's head. They come crashing down. I basically hit him in the head. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I have just knocked out Spock. was- I was I was petrified. Well, I didn't get the role, probably because I wasn't ready, not because of the, knocking him out, but it makes for a lifetime good story about, being probably one of the few people to actually punch out Leonard Nimoy in that.
Yeah.
But it was a fun experience. So that goes back to the 80s with Tom Selleck, and then years later when I get this role in Jamie's Precinct on Blue Bloods, I got to work with Tom again. I don't know if he ever remembered that little bit there. That was a long time ago, but it was sure nice to see him again.
Yeah, that's funny. You're one of the few people who've punched out Spock.
Exactly, exactly. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing that comes to mind when I think of Leonard Nimoy is I don't know how familiar you are with The Big Bang Theory, but there was an episode where Penny gets Sheldon a napkin that Leonard Nimoy used, and he goes all crazy because he's got Leonard Nimoy's DNA on this napkin. uh,
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny though. Huh, I didn't know he directed that movie either.
He
That's a
did.
far difference from Star Trek or anything.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Huh, very interesting.
Yes.
So circling back to Cobra Kai, I mean, it's obviously this huge worldwide phenomena over the last however many years, and it got really big once it hit Netflix. I feel like a lot of people didn't know about it on YouTube, and that's kind of the effect Netflix has with shows. They have the ability to blow them up, and
Yes.
their marketing and everything. Obviously, it's a platform a lot of people have, but they also have really good marketing. So when it hit Netflix, I mean, it really blew up to be this worldwide phenomenon. Take it even farther than the Karate Kid franchise ever went. So that had to be exciting just to be a part of that, even for a little bit.
Absolutely. And I can't tell you how many people, since then, like watch the show regularly. And, it's a great family show. Kids loving it, getting into karate because of the show.
Yeah,
So I feel really grateful and blessed to have, squeezed it in at the last minute, gotten an opportunity to work on it. And it's
yeah,
last, yes,
yeah. So how long did you have to be there? How long were you on set?
about 2, 3 days altogether.
Long days?
Uh, they weren't too bad, actually. They weren't too bad. It was all pleasant,
Yeah.
easy enough with all the people in the room. It was great.
Yeah, that had to
Yeah.
be an undertaking to coordinate and to film that the whole Sekai Taikai thing because especially once they got to the brawl scene. I mean, I can't imagine the choreography that went into that and the stunt
Oh,
coordinating, and I mean, just an intense undertaking.
yes, the choreography is pretty intense. So in between my scenes, they would shoot a fight scene, and I got to kind of peek around backstage and watch. And I was just in awe of their performance because, yeah, every move does have to be choreographed. 2 years ago, I was in a short film, which was in the Miami Film Festival, and I played a very bad woman. But what was cool is they had a stunt coordinator in, and I had a major fight scene with this young lady. And I mean, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And it was like, okay, I don't want to get hurt, but we practiced it and we did it on the mat. But every move was worked out so that it was kind of like choreographing a dance. And by the end, I felt very, very comfortable. And then when we actually shot it with all the choking and the punching and and then of course, the way that they edited, it looked really, really, really authentic. And you would have thought that I was like a fighter, a wrestler, but no.
Yeah, it's great when you have a good stunt coordinator. I've had a few people in stunts and who've done stunt coordinating on the podcast, and that's been very interesting to kind of get that
Yes.
behind the scenes view. A lot of them, they had a background in either martial arts. One of them was a diver or a dancer, all these different things that you have to have good control of your body. Yeah, very interesting side of the
Yeah,
film industry that I feel like isn't really talked about a whole lot. It's just kind of,
right.
oh, it happens and we all watch the fight, but who cares how it happens?
Exactly. I think it really does help to have some sort of bodily coordination. I'm very lucky in that I started out as a dancer even before I became a singer and a songwriter and an actor. I studied dance for many, many years, ballet, jazz, you name it. And I think that definitely helped. So, when you're in sort of rounded performer, somewhere along the line, you'll be able to utilize your training. And then, of course, doing a ton of music videos, being, having to dance, having to act, it all comes into play. So I'm grateful that my parents took me to those ballet lessons, to those piano lessons. My dad even insisted when I was 12, he insisted that I take judo. So I did judo for a long time. Boy, did I get beat up though. They don't discriminate between men, women, old, young. It was an interesting experience. So
Yeah.
it all helps.
Yeah, right. And you don't always know it in the moment, right? It might not help for 10, 15, 20 years. You never know when you're going to need those skills or use those skills. You know, it, there's a lot of people that go to college, myself, one of them, for a degree, and then you
Mhm.
end up doing something totally different. Like I'm currently
Yes,
not using my degree, but that doesn't mean it was useless, right? I mean, like you learn all these skills in life, and they can be applicable to many different things.
that's right. I mean, think about vaudeville back in the day. They had to do everything. you know, um, be great singers, great dancers, actors. It was sort of required. And then it changed where people thought, well, you got to focus on one thing, and if you do other things, well, you can't be that good because, well, if you're an actor, how could you be a good singer? Or, I mean, look at Lady Gaga. My goodness, who would have thought, right? Just that talent between the singing and the songwriting and the acting. So it's definitely more broad these days and helpful to do other things. I know it's benefited me. You pull into that bag of tools when you need them.
Right. And I feel like like if you look at it, apply it to sports, there's certain coaches, they don't want an athlete that just does one thing only. They want kids that try all sorts of things. And, so it applies to all kinds of things in life. It's good to be well rounded. It's good to have other skills and try new experiences and whatnot.
Absolutely. And you draw from all those experiences and from that creativity. You draw from all of those things into your role. At least I do. It's definitely helped me with the myriad of really wide variety of different roles that I've had. Like in the last 5 years, I've been able to draw from all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
The bigger the tool bag, the better.
That's right. Absolutely.
Well, let's talk music a little bit now. Um,
Sure.
well, who are your musical influences as a kid? Like, who'd you really like or
Wow.
you just loved?
Okay. Oh, so I was a music major in college because I thought that was really going to be my sole vocation, and it was for a while. So when I was young, I mean, first of all, when I was a kid, it was Elvis Presley. My parents listened to Elvis Presley like 24/7. So that was my sort of early influence. And then as I developed my own tastes, and especially in school and college, oh gosh, we went through a Steely Dan phase, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Stevie Wonder, and then all the wonderful Motown artists. I remember just listening, and I couldn't get enough of Aretha Franklin, of everybody from the Supremes, and uh, yeah, Patty Austin. That's the name I was thinking of. And then, of course, I got into jazz a little bit. So Ella Fitzgerald, and I was so lucky I got to watch her live. She came to Toronto way back when, and I saw her performance. It was amazing. And then, of course, that kind of, veered and shifted into more of a rock thing. I mean, the classics, I'd listen to the Stones, the Beatles, of course, in terms of just incredible songwriting. And then I think for me, my tastes are really broad and eclectic. I kind of look at the different decades and who I listened to and what I was into in all the different decades. But I just really like to listen to everything because I'm also a songwriter and it gives me inspiration. Um, I mean, these days, I love Billie Eilish, I love SZA, I love Coldplay. I mean, it really Ed Sheeran. It really quite broad.
Yeah.
Rufus the Soul in terms of a
Yeah.
little more electronic-y vibe. Red Hot Chili Peppers with the bass. I got to perform. I was part of a girl group and I got to perform in Italy with Elton John and then Men at Work and Tears for Fears. And that was a big era in the 80s with Men at Work. The Aussie bands had a huge moment during the 80s. Yeah, so it's all good. I love music and I love music makers and I love digging into, the grooves and, what makes a song great. But I can't forget, I think my icon in terms of just sheer brilliance and with songwriting, Joni Mitchell. I think when I was really young, that her record Blue, oh my gosh, I played that thing over and over again, just like the sheer brilliance, right? At
Yeah.
that time, moment in time. Yeah. James Taylor, Joni Mitchell, but Joni was one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, you've touched on so many wonderful artists. I feel I'm the same way. I just love music. When I was in college, everyone in college, you got to take extra, classes that don't apply to your major, right? Humanities or social sciences or whatever, different elective classes. And most of the time, kids are like, oh, I got to take these stupid classes. But I took three or four music classes: the history of music, the history of rock, the history of
Mm.
classical music, and those were some of my favorite classes from college because we talked music every day, and your
Yeah.
assignments were analyzing songs that you enjoyed, or and like the history of rock, we started back in the 30s and 40s, and we worked our way all the way to modern times and how music evolved and yeah, I mean, depending on my mood, I listen to anything from 1950 to modern day country, rock,
Oh,
classical stuff, and rap, R&B, heavy metal, pop, whatever it is, all of it. It's great.
that's amazing. Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, I remember getting a gig up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, which is way up there. It was February and it was like, not kidding you, like minus 48 degrees Fahrenheit. And I was doing a gig with my band, and there was another band in the same venue, and a lovely, beautiful young girl by the name of Eileen Twain headed up the band. And she, of course, became Shania. And I remember when she got super big, thinking, wow, like she's really opening up I mean, she looks so different from any of the like female country artists. She really opened things up in terms of her vibe, her style. She was a little bit more rockin' and poppy than your, typical like straight ahead female country artist. And it was really cool thinking that, way back when, before she was Shania, I got an opportunity to work with her and hang out. And then very tragically, she had disappeared from the scene in Toronto, and we were all thinking, well, what happened to Eileen? And then we come to find out that her parents had tragically died in a car crash, and she was the oldest of, I think they were three kids, and she basically had to put all of her, uh, her career, her hopes and dreams, everything on hold to raise her younger siblings until they were old enough. And then she got her big break, and deserved every bit of it. But yeah, I was just thinking of that when you mentioned country. There's so many amazing country artists. And the thing about country music too, for me, is it's some of the best like lyric storytelling. I love
Yeah.
lyrics that are conversational and storytelling. And man, you get some awesome stories.
Yeah.
A lot of beer and truck drivers and jeans and all of that, but a lot of other incredible stories too.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that about Shania. That's
Yeah.
an interesting story. But what you said is so true. There's a lot of country singers, if you look at classic country, that don't necessarily have the greatest, most beautiful sounding voices,
Mhm.
but they have awesome lyrics and they tell a wonderful story. I
Yeah.
like Johnny Cash's voice. It's unique, but you wouldn't say like, man, that guy's a smooth, like, ooh, he's got a different kind of voice that
Yeah.
but he just had a tremendous talent for telling stories.
Yeah.
In modern day, a lot of the like Americana and folk music is very, the lyrics are awesome. Like Tyler Childers is one that I
Oh.
really like, and his lyrics are just amazing.
Yes. And I mean, and look at Dylan. I mean, nobody would say, wow, what an awesome singer. But he's like his
Oh
brilliance, his
yeah.
pure brilliance, the songwriting and his voice is so unique too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. You don't have to be the greatest singer, but if you have a vibe and if you have a uniqueness to your sound, that's yours. That's your stamp on your artistry that nobody else is going to emulate.
Right. Yeah. No, then they've made movies about all those guys.
Yeah.
I
Did you
mean,
see the last one?
I did not see the Dylan. I just put it on my list on Hulu. I just bookmarked it to watch it. It looks really good.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody in it is so good. It's just like a little slice of time. It doesn't, follow Dylan's whole career, but it was so well done. So good. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. And they just announced the new slate of Beatles movies that's going to come out in
Wow.
2028. Four of them. They're going to do four movies. They're going to release them all in 1 month, which is going to be crazy, but I'm looking forward to that. I mean, the Beatles are obviously on the Mount Rushmore of music, all of them, the Beatles stuff, and then what they did after
Oh
their
yeah.
solo careers, and Paul McCartney and Wings, and just
Yeah,
phenomenal stuff. I think those movies will be great.
absolutely. Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned it already, but you shared the stage with Elton John, Men at Work, Tears for Fears, also the Weather Girls and David Foster, people you've worked with, Michael Bolton, Toby Gad, all these, again, people that you could put up on the Mount Rushmore of music, especially in their respective genres, just legends in the music industry. That had to be amazing to work with those people in one way
Oh,
or another.
absolutely. And in different ways, like with Michael Bolton, for instance, we wrote songs together. And wow, what a giant. I mean, what an amazing writer. And everybody has a different process. And, if you're open, like you learn when I collaborate with whomever I'm collaborating with, I just love it because you have to be like a sponge. I've got my own process when I'm just sitting down at the piano writing myself, but when I'm collaborating, it's almost like doing an improv, with two actors. If you're open and I mean, I learned so much from writing with him. The Weather Girls, oh my gosh. So I have to tell you, so this girl group that I was in way back when, we were called Harlow. We actually had a song that made it to number 15 on the Billboard dance charts. And so we were invited to New York City to perform at Studio 54 and perform at a couple of other clubs, the Fun House, the Underground. And talk about amazing experiences. My first time in the Big Apple, and next thing you know, we're walking into Studio 54. I look over to my left, and who do I see walking in next to me was like Sylvester Stallone. And I'm thinking, oh my God. Well, I think we opened up for Casey and the Sunshine Band. It was another big dance act at the time. They were awesome. But that was a really memorable experience. Yeah, just that slice of New York nightlife and especially such an iconic club. And I've been trying to locate the videos because I heard that they videotaped every single performance, but who knows? Somewhere in some vault, it would
Yeah,
be interesting to see.
it would be cool if you could get your hands on, put it out there for people to see. I mean, that'd be, amazing music history. Um,
Yeah,
you mentioned Studio 54. I occasionally pop on like Sirius XM. They have a Studio 54 radio, and
yeah.
I'm a huge ABBA fan, one of my favorite groups ever,
Oh, yes, yes,
and
yes.
they're on there a lot. So I'll occasionally pop on that channel.
Yeah, no, I got to see them live too. That
Oh,
was an amazing concert. Yeah.
oh my.
Just there's something about Swedish acts and songwriters. There's like an incredible knack for melody, like just memorable melodies. Yeah. I remember with Britney Spears' first record, I think her songwriter producers were Swedish. And then I had the opportunity to work with a couple of iconic Swedish songwriters as well in London. And they're amazing. There's just something about them. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, so Studio 54. And then we shot two videos during that same trip one in Central Park early in the morning, like at 5:30 in the morning, we were on a rowboat in the lake and it was misty. And here we are, three girls in a rowboat, like disco dancing to our songs. All of a sudden, the fog clears. And our like we lost an oar and we were drifting. The fog clears, and all of a sudden there's like 200 men wearing these berets over on the shore. And we're like, oh, and they're like, oh, we don't know who scared who more, us seeing them or them seeing like three girls in a rowboat singing disco songs at 5:30 in the morning. And it turned out that it was like a secret meeting of there was this vigilante group at that time in New York City called the Guardian Angels, and they would go and like patrol the subways because there was a lot of crime in New York back then. So they were having like a secret strategy meeting, thinking, oh well, if we pick 5:30 or 6 in the morning in Central Park, there'll be nobody there. And then all of a sudden they got blasted by some disco music. I wish I had the outtakes of that. I mean, like all of these things were so just so fun and so memorable. But anyway, I digress. The point is that those two videos, two songs that we shot back in what, 1980, they wound up being the very first videos that were ever playlisted on MTV. When MTV first came on, the first week in its existence, they played one of our songs. And it was really tacky, to be honest with you. Like the video was so tacky because we didn't have a huge budget, but I mean, MTV played it. And then I think after about 5 or 6 days, we got booted. That video got booted off so fast because then you had Duran with their incredibly huge, expensive, amazing videos. And then, of course, Michael Jackson and everybody else followed suit. And then, music videos really became a thing. And that's what we did. We clicked on MTV to watch music videos.
Yeah, and now music videos, they're still huge. With especially with our technology today, you're making little movies.
Yeah.
They tell a tremendous story. Can put some kind of a visual to the song. And I feel like it's a little bit different now because now people go to YouTube or
Yeah,
and that's where they find them. But
that's
yeah, it's
right.
still a huge part of it. It just evolves the way you consume it.
Yeah, and it elevated all the artists. It made a lot of artists' careers back then when, music videos were so popular. Without a great music video, your song could sink. I mean, it's very different now. So yeah, the industry has definitely changed and evolved. I mean, I started out making LPs, and then it became CDs, and now it's all streaming. And I'm not really looking to be an artist anymore because you have to tour and sell merch. And I mean, I'm doing other things, but it's just it's just the industry is so different. With streaming, you make as a songwriter, artist, you make like a fraction of a penny. You know what got me back into acting? This is like a true story. Back in 2014, I wrote a song with a wonderful Australian artist by the name of Tom Crawford. We wrote this very cool indie kind of vibe song. It was called Bones. So it got produced by Sasha Skarbek, who was a huge producer at the time, had just worked with Jason Mraz and Adele. And somehow he found this little demo of ours and decided, oh, I like this song. Let me do a version. Well, he became like, I think, the music supervisor for this cool movie that they were doing with Johnny Depp. It was a documentary called For No Good Reason. And it was all about the life of Hunter S. Thompson and Ralph Steadman. So the two of them worked together. Anyway, one day I get an email from the Oscar committee saying, congratulations, Joanne Perica, your song Bones has been selected for the Oscars. It has made the Oscar long list. And I'm thinking, oh God, one of my friends is playing a big joke on me. It was like early April. I'm thinking this is like a late April Fool's joke. But sure enough, somebody heard this song in the movie and decided it was worthy of the Oscar nod. Anyway, I made a grand total of $300. I was grateful to have the song in the movie. Great experience. But I looked at my husband and I said, honey, I need a day job. This isn't going to cut it. So I you know, got back into acting. I thought, okay, well, it's been a couple of decades since I've done anything substantial because when I lived in Canada, I was like a guest lead on all the major episodic TV shows, and I did a big feature film with several stars, but that was way back when. So of course, I can't have an acting reel from like 20, 30 years ago. So I wanted to pay my dues again. So, I started doing background work and all that. Then I got on Blue Bloods, and then I did, a bunch of features. And then I had an amazing opportunity to be directed by Steven Spielberg. Only all the 3 days of shooting that we did in New York at the Plaza Hotel, as is the director's prerogative, got cut out of the movie. So there you have it. So I didn't wind up making the cut, but it was an incredible experience to actually be directed by Steven Spielberg for this movie called The Papers with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. So I'm so grateful for all of it. And it's all so meaningful. I was once just a background actor on a movie with Dustin Hoffman and Kathy Bates, but I got to spend 4 days sitting in a room around a table with myself, two other background actors, and the two of them. Let me tell you, that was the best master class on brilliant acting. I would have paid a lot of money for that master class. So even if you're just in the background, if you're a sponge and if you're open and if you really listen and you connect and observe, you can learn so much. And that experience elevated my acting, just being there and observing these two greats do their craft. And of course, listening to Dustin Hoffman's stories about Bobby De Niro, and great story. So it was, such a pleasure to be on that one. Sadly, the movie never got released. So there you go. So I don't feel bad that my little scenes in the papers got cut. Dustin Hoffman and Kathy Bates movie never got released.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Amazing stories. And I think what kind of you're talking about, people sometimes have the question, is it worth it? Right? Is it worth it to have those background roles? Is it worth it to take this extra work for just one day? And everyone that I've asked has said the same thing that you have. Of course it's worth it. I mean, you get to see it firsthand, you soak up all this stuff, you learn, you apply that to your own career. You kind of pay your dues, it makes you better, but nonetheless they're also just amazing experiences and memories that you'll have forever. So I don't think I've talked to anyone that said no, it wasn't worth it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's great. Great experiences. And then, you evolve and then you get, small little bits and then other small little bits and then bigger bits and then, you know, um, yeah, got a couple of really interesting projects in the works and I'm hoping to elevate my game.
Yeah. Is it stuff that you can't talk about?
Uh, well, I just shot an interesting role in a feature. I can't really talk about it, but let me tell you, it's an incredible topic, and I was very grateful to get this role. It's about human trafficking. And then in May, I'm shooting a film all about the modeling industry. That's going to be fun. And what else? Well, a couple of auditions recently, good ones, so keep fingers crossed. So we'll see. But you never know. You put yourself out there. You have that leap of faith. And the other thing is for young actors, do believe in yourself. If you have a passion, you have to go for it. You have to believe in yourself. But study your craft, do everything that you can. Take classes, do background work, read books, talk to other actors, just be open, be a sponge, and don't get discouraged if you have several auditions and you don't get picked. Okay, because sometimes it's not even about your talent. It could be, well, yeah, he's really good, but we don't like his hair. Or he's just not, we're looking for somebody with like, just a different look. So you can't get demoralized. You just put that thick skin on and just keep following your passion, have your goals, and just really work hard and you'll achieve success.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having my best years, my best moments in my 60s.
Yeah, you never know when things are going to happen. And I know it's so corny, but the Wayne Gretzky line, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. I mean, it's such a corny line, but it's so true. If you just tell yourself, well, I've got no chance that's gonna happen, then of course it's not going to, because you didn't apply, you didn't even try. I mean, I think about that with myself in the podcast. Sometimes I'll send somebody a message, or I'll think about sending them a message like, they'll never answer. Well, of course, if you don't send it, then they really will never answer.
That's right. Yep. And following up. And I mean, we have to be like little business people too, and it's hard sometimes because sometimes creative people don't have that business sense, like, oh yeah, staying on top of your email, staying on top of your social media. I mean, all the things that we have to do today, I didn't have to worry about when I first got into the business, but it's all like super important. And there's a lot of elements that come into play. And then there's just that lucky moment where everything, the universe aligns with your talent, and you book that like pivotal job that's going to like open up so many doors. And then it's fantastic, but the most important things is you have to like it. You have to love what you do and always evolve, always learn, be open and be humble and stay nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the best advice of all, especially in today's world, right? Everyone's so crabby and angry and negative. Like, just be
Yeah.
nice, just be kind, and that'll
Yeah.
get you far in life. And whatever you're doing, whatever your job is, acting, music, or just going to the office every day, if you're a nice person that people want to be around, that opens a lot of doors. And working hard. I
Yeah.
remember being in college, professors saying, like a lot of jobs, they will take you if you're willing to learn. Like, you might not be an expert, but the fact that you want to learn and you're willing to work hard, they're going to take you on. And that applies to whatever you're doing. That'll get you far in life.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
You're
I
so
think that,
right about that, Alex.
yeah, I think that's a great place to kind of wrap up the episode, end on some positive advice. And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing some great stories and your experiences and advice. It was great.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really enjoyable. And I wish you a lot of luck and success too.
Thank
You
you.
got
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.